Hello, Pre-Algebra and Math 7 students. This is Mr. Kraft coming to you from my house as usual. I want to give a brief review on how you add mixed numbers. So just a first brief review of fractions. You know that when you have two fractions being added to each other, if they have the common denominator, you just add the numerator. So 3/7 plus 2/7 is 5/7. You never, ever, ever add the denominators. You add the numerators. Now, sometimes you might have something like this. If you had 2/10 plus 3/10, that would give you 5/10. Well, now 5/10 can be reduced. 5 goes into itself once and 5 goes into 10 two times. So you don't ever add the denominator, but if you have to reduce it to lowest terms, you'd end up with a different denominator. Always reduce to lowest terms. Always. Whether it says to or not. Okay. So, with whole numbers, let's say you had 2 and 1/5 plus, say, 7 and 2/5. It's easy. The fractions do their thing, the whole numbers do their thing, and they don't have anything to do with each other. 1/5 plus 2/5 is 3/5. 2 plus 7 is 9. Boom, that's it. Easy as that. If you had 6 and 1/9 plus 4 and 2/9, well, 1/9 plus 2/9 is 3/9. 6 plus 4 is 10. Well, the 10 doesn't change, but the 3/9 has to be reduced. 3 goes into itself once, and 3 goes into 9 three times, 10 and 1/3. That's all you do. The only situation that can sometimes be a problem is if you have improper fractions that occur, which involves bar or carrying. I'll show you what I mean by that. If you had 4 and 3/4, well, actually, it just occurred to me that I did not talk about the issue of unlike denominators and getting a common denominator. So let's back up on that. Let's go plain fractions. 1/3 plus 1/4. You have to find the LCD, which means least common denominator. We've talked about this before. Least common denominator is the smallest number that both of these will go into. What's the smallest number that 3 and 4 will both go into? The answer is 12. So then you say 3 times 4 is 12. Whatever you multiply the denominator by, you multiply the numerator by also. So 1/3 becomes 4/12. 4 times 3 is 12, and then once again, whatever's in the bottom you put in the top. 1 times 3 is 3. 3/12 plus 4/12, 3 plus 4 is 7, 7/12. And 7 has nothing in common with 12, so it doesn't reduce. So if you had 5.5 plus 3 1/3, well, you're going to take the fraction part, change them to common denominators, which is sixths. 2 times 3 and 1 times 3. 1/2 is equal to 3/6. 3 times 2 is 6, and 1 times 2. So you've got 3/6 plus 2/6. You could rewrite this if you wanted to. It becomes 5 and 3/6 plus 3 and 2/6. Now you do the fractions do their thing, the whole numbers do their thing. 3/6 plus 2/6 is 5/6. 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay. So now carrying. Suppose I had 3 and 3/4 plus 6 and 2/4. Well, 3/4 plus 2/4 is 5/4, and that's a problem. You do not want to leave that as an improper fraction. So you take the numerator inside the bracket, denominator outside the bracket, and divide. So the numerator is 5 and the denominator is 1. 4 goes into 5 once with 1 left over. The answer here, which is the quotient, becomes the whole number. The remainder is your numerator, and as is usually the case, the denominator does not change. 1 1/4. What I do is I take this fraction part, that's what you end up with here. This whole number, the 1, carries. 1 plus 3 is 4, 4 plus 6 is 10. So if you gave me 9 5/4, that is technically correct in the sense that it's the right answer, but that's not what I want. I want it like that. Last situation, let's look at something where you've got getting the common denominator and carrying. So let's say you have 10 3/4 plus 5 4/5. Well, 10 and the 5 are not going to change. Whole numbers don't change. 4 and 5, the LCD is going to be 20. So 4 times 5 gives me 20, so I have to multiply the top by 5. 3 times 5 is 15. I have to multiply the 5 in the bottom by 4, because 5 times 4 is 20. So I do the same thing in the top. 4 times 4 is 16. Well, 15 twentieths plus 16 twentieths is 31 twentieths, because 15 and 16 adds up to 31. So I take my numerator and put it inside the bracket. I take my denominator and put it outside the bracket. 20 goes into 31 once with 11 left over. So that gives me 1 and 11 over 20. The 11 over 20 goes in the fractional place. The 1 carries. 1 plus 0, there's the hard part. 1 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 5 is 6, and the 1 drops down. 16 and 11 twentieths. Hopefully this clarified the subject matter. I will talk to you later, and good night.